Oh, so my mic has been muted. So for these past couple of minutes, so that's great. I should have probably checked that before I started talking, but nonetheless, we'll roll with it. Live. What can you do about that? It's just one of those shit things that happens, unfortunately. But basically, all I was saying was some stuff that you guys probably already know. But we got a shit ton of information about this EA Sports college football game today. Everything from gameplay to Dynasty to Road to Glory to there's going to be new passing mechanics. There's going to be new kicking mechanics, new pre-snap details, all kinds of great things. And from what I understand, tomorrow is going to be the day that EA Sports, unveils some stuff on their end, probably detailed videos of these gameplay features, these things that people have kind of been talking about today. There were YouTubers that played the game. We know about the media people that played the game. I'm going to pull up the articles from, each of the media people that played the game. We'll kind of delve through all the details from gameplay to Dynasty to Road to Glory. Going to be a shit ton of news coming out over the next couple of days. So the main thing that I was asking is, just for two things, and that's whether you're watching this live or on the playback, just hit that like button, helps a shit ton with the YouTube algorithm. And be sure, if you're a fan of this game, subscribe here. Going to be a ton of news coming out. I'll be reporting on it all here. And of course, doing live streams like this where I can chat with you guys. Planning on doing another one later today where we'll do some more Q&A, and I'll probably play a little Madden as we get set to, stream some college football 25 content when the game releases. But with no further ado, appreciate you guys letting me know that the mic was muted. Kyle, Orlando, Zach, see all of you guys in here. Appreciate that. Should have checked the soundboard before I started. Usually pretty good about that. That's first on this channel. I think I've done it a couple of times on my other channel, but nonetheless, man, let's dive in on some of these articles. I've got them pulled up a little bit about, each one here. We got some shit to dive into. So let's start here with the gameplay details. Let's start right here with Robbie Calland. He did some great deep dives here on Uproxx. I think that's how Uproxx. I don't know how you pronounce it. I've always said Uproxx. I don't know, UPROXX. But he, did a gameplay article, a Dynasty article, a Road to Glory article. We're going to dive in on all three. We have all three of his. On 3 has Andy Staples that played the game. IGN has their review up. CBS Sports talked to Bud Elliott, who played the game. The Athletic has an article up from Chris Vanini, who played the game. We'll dive in on that as well. So we got a ton of detail here, guys. Let's start here on with Robbie Calland. Of course, like I said, got to play the game. Going to have full write-ups on each of the modes, which we're going to dive in on each of these write-ups. He says, overall, I think fans will be very happy with the initial offering and the resurrection of the franchise, and there's some real differentiators between it and Madden that make it feel like a standalone, unique game. Here we look at all the various elements of the game that EA Sports has added, and I'll offer my thoughts on how those translated once actually on the sticks. So let's talk about, he talks about playbooks. All 134 teams have a unique playbook. That's pretty awesome right there. Pretty impressive and in-depth. Which the game goes to give their actual style. In the old games, everyone had their own playbook, but it was from a small pool of play. So we all know that have played the game, the old NCAA football 14. I'm sure most of us are probably even still playing that shit, right? You had a lot of the same plays, just, in different formations, but sounds like that's not the case. In this game, there are 10 specific play styles from air raid to the triple option. More on option updates below. Excited to hear about that. But within those styles, each team has its own distinct look and feel, of course. The stated goal was to give every fan an authentic feel of playing with their team, while presentation and visuals were important to that. The gameplay also had to be differentiated so the fan base felt truly unique to their style. We know PFF helped them. We knew a little bit about that detail. Skip ahead here. You also be able to create a custom playbook. You guys know that's the shit that excites me the most right there. Can't wait to get on. That's going to be the first thing I do when I fire this game up. You'll be able to save custom audibles. This is not expected to be ready for launch, but they did promise it was coming. That's cool. So they don't have the custom audibles ready yet, but at least they have the custom playbooks ready. On defense, the zone coverage shells are much more refined than the old games, and you can even craft your own preferred scheme in the custom playbook if you want. That's different, I think, as far as if you're able to adjust the zones and how they function in custom playbook. That's more detailed. That shit's cool. They have half-field coverages, so you can zone up on one half and go man on the other. You can also disguise coverages, which is important with the pre-snap, which is something that's new to this game. Given how much the game is leaning into player skill sets and talent level mattering more than ever, the variability in picking your playbook or creating your own is going to be key. I love that. I love that shit. And vice versa, making sure in a dynasty you're recruiting talent that fits your needs. So continuing on here, I'm reading through the gameplay details, guys. Then we're going to go into their dynasty article and then their Road to Glory article. Any thoughts you have on these gameplay details, throw them in the chat there if you're watching live. Any questions or whatever, I'll try and answer those as well. And like I said, if I'm doing this one earlier in the day, but I'm going to do another one later in the day where I'm probably going to be playing some Madden as well and answering some questions. So if you get a chance to dive in on some of these details here and you want to catch the stream later, be on the lookout for that one on Twitch and on YouTube here, JC's Pop Culture. And be sure, follow me on both there. All 22 plus player differentiation system. The first thing they talked about was their all 22 plus system, which ensures that each player on the field plays to their skill level. With such a wide variance in skill levels in the college game, they really wanted to make sure you felt that. A star player will really stand out in this game, while a backup or freshman with a low rating is going to struggle to make a positive impact. That was noticeable in playing the game, and you have to know your personnel and make sure you're getting them the ball in the right spots. A star receiver is going to go up and get the ball over defenders, while a lesser receiver is going to struggle to make a catch in traffic. So that kind of goes a little bit with what Mike Straw talked about, when he was talking about the difference in players of different levels. Your quarterback's various skill ratings will impact your ability to push the ball downfield, throw outside from the far hash, and accurately fit the ball into windows. Again, that was felt when I bounced around from team to team, testing out how the game plays with top-ranked power teams as opposed to smaller schools. You won't be able to do the same things with those small schools, and it's going to be incumbent on you, the player, to manage that. That's awesome. Enhanced computer AI. So this is a good detail. I actually just read this one for the first time right before I started up the stream. I saw someone share this on Twitter, but this is cool because it sounds like the AI in this game is actually going to be tough. Maybe we won't have to make as many slider adjustments because maybe if you play on your All-American Heisman level, it's going to be tough starting out, and for a while, maybe be a challenge. Excuse me, guys. One thing that was immediately noticeable once I started playing the game was how much smarter the computer component is now. It used to be extremely easy to manipulate the computer, but that will not be the case in this game, especially at higher difficulty levels. I started All-American because that's what I always played on NCAA, and I was having absolute fits with the defense. The computer now has all the same tools as the user and will use them. The coverages are much smarter, with windows closing much faster in the passing game than they used to, especially against zone coverages. They're also better at disguising coverages and blitzes, and you'll have the ability to see the whole field as a passer. Defenses will adapt to how you're playing with real-time coaching that makes adjustments to what they're running to force you to continually differentiate your play calling. No longer can you spam the same few plays over and over to exploit the same coverage the defense keeps running. If you show the defense the same play one too many times, it's likely headed back the other way. That's good shit too. Excited about that. And here's one that I was excited to learn about because it sounds like this is going to be a nice detail. A lot of people kind of wrote it off, myself included, when they featured the wear and tear system, because it just kind of sounds like, stamina from the old games, but sounds like everything that goes into this is going to be definitely more detailed, including I saw something about like pre-play. Your players are going to have, show like their body to show like their health, and they'll have areas that are like green, orange, or red, depending on how many hits they've taken to certain areas of their bodies. Shit like that's all going to go into this wear and tear system. The biggest addition to the game that is college football specific is wear and tear. This will be the most controversial part of the game that will require the most tuning from the EA Sports team. All right, that second sentence is a little bit fucking scary, not going to lie, guys. And that's one thing I was worried about with this shit. Is this going to be something that pisses me off? Because you guys know sometimes with stamina in the old game, if you were using that turbo too much or whatever in 14, your guy was tired. It's immediate. He gets hit. It's either injury or fumble. And that's what I was worried about with this. But we'll see how it happens. The idea comes from a good place, and I think as they tune it will be a welcomed addition to the game. Basically, they wanted to stop gamers from being able to find success spamming the same play over and over, making it so as players take hits, they lose attributes and ratings, which I understand the underlying thing behind that, and I really appreciate it, man, because there are certain players that you would play in online dynasties, man. They'd have their go-to play, and they would just run that shit over and over, and what can you do if the game's not going to adapt to it? But at least here they're trying to account for that, and it seems like they're doing a lot to account for these user versus user plays, not so much just user versus CPU even. They made it clear that this isn't a fatigue system like the old NCAA games. Instead, the way it works, each body part is broken out and has different player attributes and skill ratings attached to it. As you accumulate hits over the course of the game, you'll be able to see where a guy's taking damage, and the skill ratings and the attribute tied to that body part will decrease. For example, throwing power and throw accuracy for a quarterback's throwing arm even. What kind of hits you take will matter, as not all hits are created equal in the physics-based system. Getting your quarterback hit by a big defensive tackle will do more damage than a corner on a blitz. A bigger, stronger player will suffer less wear and tear versus a smaller, speedier guy. This means managing your players' health will be vital. If you like to run the read option, you better be careful with your quarterback and running back, because if they get tagged on hits, they'll lose ratings. Interesting. This also means hospital balls are a thing. And if you throw your receiver into a big hit, they're going to get lit up and lose some ability. So be careful, throwing across the middle right there with somebody waiting to tee off on that dude. That means those players want to spam the slant route against the zone, get ready to learn how to diversify your offensive attack or have your receivers get hurt. In playing the game, you notice the wear and tear system quickly, and it does make you think about spreading the touches out. That makes life even more difficult with a smaller school team because the all 22 plus system, you might only have one really good receiver on the roster. So if you're playing with one of those small schools, you only got a couple star players, you're not going to be able to feed them the whole game, unfortunately. You're going to have to give it to some of those lesser players as well. One of the guys I was talking to had to lead a game-winning touchdown drive with his backup quarterback because his starter got hit so much, he had lost 47 points off of his rating. Okay, so maybe that goes into a little bit of the tuning and shit that he was talking about, because that seems a bit excessive if my quarterback can lose up to like 50 overall points in a game, if that's what he's talking about. That's going to be an adjustment that you have to manage, and I expect it to be a point of frustration for some and a spot that needs continual tuning from EA, like I said there. New passing system. Now, here's what we're talking about, and I think we'll get some more details about this tomorrow and some of the new kicking system and shit. While wear and tear will require the biggest adjustment to game strategy when it comes to actual gameplay, the thing players will have to really get used to is the new passing system. It works like the old MVP Baseball 05 throwing system. I don't know what that means, where you have a meter for each throw, and the longer you hold it, the harder you throw. This allows you to layer the ball from feathery, high-arcing lobs that drop in over the defense to intermediate throws over a linebacker or to a laser that fits in a tight window before a defender can get there. So I like that. I do like that because, remember on the old games, you really only had, the ability to kind of lob it or the ability to bullet it, depending on how hard you push the button. So it still is kind of dependent on how hard you push the button, I guess, because you're kind of holding it down, but there's going to be a meter that kind of shows you how you're doing it. So that's pretty good. I like that. Gives you much more control over passes than the old tap to lob, hold to rifle passing system, but does require you to really put in some time to get used to it. So kind of as expected, there's going to be, an adjustment period with this game with a lot of this new shit. I threw a lot of interceptions in my first couple of games trying to get used to it for a couple of reasons. One is if you hold it down too long, you go into the red and throw an inaccurate ball, sometimes right into the chest of an underneath defender. That's kind of similar to Madden. I mean, it sounds like obviously different, in some ways, but in Madden, it's very much like that as well. Because I've been playing Madden 24 a little bit and streaming that some, and you can do that as well on Madden. If you don't hold the button right, or if you don't have your footwork right, you can throw an inaccurate ball. The metering is skill ratings based, so you'll have to get used to your guys' ability and how long you can hold it down before you get into the danger area. So that's interesting. I'm sure guys, with lower rating, their meter will probably move quicker, making it harder for you to, get it right. Whereas, guys with higher ratings, I'm sure their meter will move slower. That means throwing down the field is much more difficult with worse quarterbacks. So you really need to be cognizant of your guy's skill set when calling plays. From there, there's some delay for throws that you hold the meter down on. You have to really throw with anticipation. That's interesting. I had a couple of picks where I saw a guy getting open, tried to rifle it, but in the half second I was trying to hold the meter down, the window closed. So you almost have to, that's almost makes it more realistic, like a real quarterback. You have to anticipate him getting open and kind of throw it while he's still covered or start, your meter going at that point. That's cool. The same can happen trying to float the ball out there as you have to count for where your quarterback's going to lay it. That is, again, realistic how football works, but an adjustment you have to make in a video game. While frustrating at first, once I got the field down with someone and started to see the field a little better, I really enjoyed the control it provides. One of the great frustrations of the old game was trying to throw to a receiver who was open between the linebackers and safeties, and they jump up and catch that. Obviously, that's what he's talking about. Running the ball in line play. Now, here's something I want to hear. I'm more of a run guy. It's always been me. The new passing system will likely be a bit divisive among players as the meter won't be for everybody. Even if I think once you get the hang of it, it'll be a net positive. But what I think people will absolutely love is how much better running the ball is in this game. If you've not played a Madden game, you likely haven't seen the jump and improvement in how a running game works. Linemen function like actual linemen, independent of each other. In past games, you could only really program linemen to block in collectives, meaning the run game was far more boom or bust. Of course, now the running game is much smoother and more lifelike. Found it more enjoyable than ever. For example, if you run outside zone, your linemen are going to block as they would in real life. It'll be easy to hit your read and react to the hole that opens up. So, you're running that stretch zone, you're running that wide zone. You kind of can see the lane and then cut up field where you need to. That brings more skill into the run game, asking the player to be patient, then mashing the right trigger and hoping the designed hole opens up, which is nice. In college, this also impacts running the option, where your decision-making has to be on point with some updates to how it all works. Now, this is interesting, guys. The new option system. This is one of the main things I wanted to highlight because this sounds really cool. The way that they've changed this, and sounds like it'll be both, more rewarding and also, more, I guess, realistic too. The new option system in the game will require an adjustment period as they flip the functionality of the X/A on a read / triple option. So, used to be you're making that read on your read option, your triple option to the dive man, to the running back, whatever, you hit A to hand it off. They realized the holding X to hand it off was backwards to how options actually work, where the decision is really for the quarterback to pull it. So you now have to hit the button to pull the ball back out of the running back's hand. And for anyone that's got read option muscle memory with the old franchise, that will take some time. So it's the opposite. Used to be you to hit the button to hand it off, which now they've kind of flipped it to where you hit the button to pull it instead, which is actually, like I said, more realistic. So you now have to hit the button to pull the button out of and that's for read option muscle memory with the old franchise. It's going to take some time. You have more reads to make on the triple option, speed option with the read, keep, and pitch option that actual QBs have to find. I tried running my hand at the triple with Navy, who should be noted as awful in the game, so that didn't help. It did pretty terribly. By the second half, I had a little bit more of a feel for it, where there was a lot of plays where I didn't even get to keep pitch portion of the triple because my quarterback will get swallowed up by a defensive tackle after the original mess point. That is to say, fair warning for anyone to try to start a dynasty with Navy. I will also note that the read option is no longer the cheat code it was in 14, where you can just read the crashing in. If you're right, you typically picked up a minimum 5 yards. The improved AI will start to send help with defensive backs and linebackers quickly filling gaps, or adjust the defense with play calls that won't even get you to read at all. That said, the RPO is now a feature, and that's all about time. And didn't run many RPOs. This person didn't, Robbie Calland here, but make sure you get the ball out quickly. But I think, talking about how the defense responds to the read option more there, that's when your RPOs are going to come in, because if you're having success with that read option, on that pull, and he's talking about the AI starting to send help, then if they do, you might have somebody coming behind where they're sending that help on a pass option and be able to hit that as well. So interesting how that works. And here's another big one, guys. We just heard the talk about home field advantage. I mentioned on one of my streams, it was on my wish list, talking about bringing stadium pulse back. You used to be able to pump up the crowd. You had your meter. The shit's back, guys. And that goes right hand in hand with some of the great things I think they're doing, picking some things from old games that people liked and bringing them here into the new age. And they're doing that again. Home field advantage is back, and they expanded it to be really impactful. Each home stadium is graded out to different levels, so the big house will have a bigger impact on players than, the Center Park system, aka Turner Field in Atlanta. Freshmen will get rattled, communication gets harder, and yes, squiggly lines are back, but even more aggressive. They start moving all over the place like you're playing the game on acid. It's a damn trip, and you'll struggle to make audibles and hot routes if you don't have a quarterback with the right mental abilities. To show it off in presentation, they created this moment from a Penn State game. It was one of the coolest things I've seen. And yes, they got Mo Bamba licensed in the game. I'm not going to play that for copyright reasons here on YouTube, but you guys can check it out in the article if you'd like. I think some fans will think they went a little bit too far with Stadium Pulse and like wear and tear. I'd expect some tuning from EA along the way, but I like the fact that it makes an impact. If you have a freshman in real life on the road, chances are they're going to get overwhelmed. You better find a way to quiet things down, or else things will get scary for your guys. And right here, guys, player abilities and badges. This right here is the first sentence. It's something I've been clamoring for on here. You guys have heard me fucking talk about this a shit ton, not wanting X factors in the game. Let's not make it like Madden. X factor is something I hate from Madden. Someone asked me while I was doing my last Madden stream, if there's one thing you could change, what would it be? It was X factors. And, I was hoping they were going this way, and they are. No X factors in college football 25 like Madden. But each player will have 5 physical abilities and 3 mental abilities that you can build up to get situational boosts. They're archetype limited, which means you can't max everything out to keep it true to the college game. They're not guarantees to help you out, unlike Madden X factors. That means there's a chance your big play receiver won't make the catch in traffic in a big moment, even if he has that ability. The mental abilities are interesting and important because of home field advantage. Having a quarterback that can handle the road atmosphere will be critical, and it's going to make players think twice about thrusting a freshman in a starting role early because they have some physical attributes you like. Confidence, composure will make a difference in how well a player performs. Coaches will also have abilities which will calm their team down on the road and give the team situational boosts as well, which goes into pre-snap recognition here, which kind of ties in there, with the abilities. You have a more senior quarterback versus a younger quarterback. This is going to be, how that kind of functions. Quarterbacks with strong mental abilities will be able to diagnose coverages before the snap, and will tell you what they see in terms of coverage. So if they see a cover 4 will appear over the 2 corners and the safeties. However, they won't be right every time, and defenses can disguise coverages to try and confuse a QB by showing one thing and then going into something else at the snap. Audibles, hot routes, protection slides, and custom stems. Now, this is some cool shit, guys, that we haven't had before, as far as the amount of kind of detail that we have pre-snap to be able to adjust things. The amount of stuff you can do with the line of scrimmage is now pretty incredible. It's no longer just audibles and hot routes, as you can slide your protection at the line of scrimmage to pick up blitzers and customize routes completely for your receivers with custom stems. If you want a guy to run a 35-yard post for some reason, you can do it. If you want to turn a 5-yard dig into a 10-yard dig, that's a couple button pushes away. The protection slide is particularly cool, as you can do full slides and half slides, so you can adjust, only one part of your line. But beware, because if you misdiagnose a blitz and slide to the right and someone's coming from the left, the computer's not going to bail you out and pick that guy up. They will instead what they do in real life and go where they're told, leaving a quarterback one-on-one with the blitzer. So it makes pre-snap adjustments even more important in this game. You'll have to be cognizant of the play clock, because if you spend too much time customizing the line, you'll of course get delay a game. Defensive switch stick. So this is also something that I thought was really cool. You used to have to hit, depending on which console, circle or B to switch players. And you didn't really know who exactly they were going to switch to. And so then you kind of just had to learn the cycle of what player comes out when, and you had to learn how many buttons you're going to have to push the button to switch to a certain defender. They've now changed that because you flip the stick in the direction of the player you want to take control of, and it will take you to that player. For those that have right stick dexterity, this will allow you to effectively play with two guys in coverage, as you can quickly flip from one to another and cover half the field as a user. I will admit defense has never been my strong suit in video game football, so it wasn't super effective for me. That's probably going to be something that has a learning curve for sure. And then, of course, the new kicking system now as well. College kickers make their arrival into the game in a big way, as the new kicking system has a side-to-side meter. Oh, that's interesting. So that's something that we haven't had before. We've had the A push button, we've had the right stick flip, but it was always vertical. So a big change here. No longer the old right stick or the Madden L-shaped meter that has red, yellow, and green in the zone. The meter will move faster on kicks from further away, making it more difficult to hit 40 and 50 plus yard kicks. Once you hit AX and land in the zone, you hold it down to fill up the meter on the arrow for your kick power. If you go into the red, you'll lose distance. Like everything else, now the kicking system is all based on your kicker's skill ratings and attributes. So obviously that's going to affect how the meter moves, and of course probably the length of the meter. So that's interesting. And then weather impacts. As they noted in the presentation, wet footballs matter. That means if you end up in a rain game or a snow game, ball security will be tricky. You'll end up with more drops. Footing on defense will be sketchy. You might end up with some chaos. From a graphics perspective, the animations for rain on the field and the way it kicks up and splashes looked incredible. But it's a real annoying when the fumble starts happening, which again is how it works in real life, and that's their goal. So, there may be some things in here that we may be mixed about that may need some tuning. But from what I get here, this sounds phenomenal. The detail is incredible, and the realism is what I'm most excited about, guys. So that's a heavy, deep dive into gameplay. We're going to dive into Dynasty and Road to Glory, from Robbie as well. He did a great job putting out huge articles detailing a lot of this shit. And we have some more articles we can touch on as well there. But I appreciate everyone that's hopping in here live. If you are in here live, share your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, and we'll catch up on some of those in between each of these articles. So go ahead and do that now for sure, because holy shit, did they drown us in news, man. We've been clamoring for it, and they were like, here y'all go. We're going to give y'all all these reporters, all these YouTubers. They're going to be bringing you so much you can't even take it all in. That's why I try to just pick out kind of the biggest articles so we could kind of go through all of the details here. And in the future, like I said, I'm hearing tomorrow EA is going to drop something themselves as well. So maybe we'll get to see some of this stuff in action and video, which is going to be pretty cool. But man, I'm super excited about most of these details. I know there were a few negative parts. We'll get to some of those when we talk Dynasty and Road to Glory, but nothing that really hurts me in a bad way. I know there's one piece of news that some Road to Glory players seem upset about, but you guys that saw my wish list, it wasn't even something that I wanted in there. So it actually kind of fulfilled what I was hoping for. We'll talk about that next. We'll go Road to Glory, then we'll go Dynasty. But let me catch up on some of your all's comments here first. Orlando's hype. I know I am too, man. I am too, bro. Yeah, Chris Lee, that's one of the main things that I've seen, no matter who I've watched, and I've watched multiple YouTube videos, I've read multiple articles. Every single one says it's absolutely nothing like Madden at all. And of course, from completely different passing mechanics, kicking mechanics, completely different game speed. I mean, on and on with the details. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So much news is right, Patty C. I almost didn't even know how to attack this video. This will probably be a longer video, but my plan is just to do multiple streams today. This one's kind of just going to be, of course, the video based, like I do here on YouTube, going through all the details and stuff. And later on, I'm probably just going to play some Madden and let you guys throw in some questions and talk with you guys as I play through the, Madden franchise that I'm trying to play through. In the lead up to the release of, College Football 25, then we can dive into, streaming some gameplay content for that and have our, streaming Dynasty and our Road to Glory and all that fun stuff. So much news is right though, Patty C. So much news. Chris Lee says his favorite thing is for playbooks for all the game, like everything so far. Yeah, each team having their own specific playbook, and not only is it each team having their own playbook, but it's literally specific to where it's not the same plays, just arranged differently like we've had in past years. Each team, each university sent in one of their playbooks as a part of the assets they sent in. And of course, PFF helped with some of that as well. So that's going to be awesome. Yes, new kick meter, Tim DeFrank. I'm sure you probably sent that in before I got to that part of the article. But yes, new kick meter, going to move side to side. Very interesting how that's going to function as well. I'm excited about that. New passing conference. Tim DeFrank asks as well, wonder if they added Sandman for VT. I live in a half hour away from there. Hey, man, I'm about 45 minutes away there from there myself. I'm in the bottom part of West Virginia. So, I get that for sure. But unfortunate news as far as that's concerned. I was hoping to have Country Roads included for West Virginia, but it doesn't sound like either made it into the game. There are a few songs that they licensed. I know in that article they mentioned Mo Bamba. I'll try and see if I can pull up the article that mentions the songs that they did license. But someone that did play the game mentioned that they went to Virginia Tech because they wanted to see that entrance, see if they included Inner Sandman. They weren't able to get the rights, apparently, too expensive. And that's probably on Metallica's end, I'm guessing. But nonetheless, what they did do is they recreated a generic song that sounds like it. So for the songs they didn't get the rights to, they did recreate generic versions. I think the same goes for Jump Around and hopefully on my end, Country Roads. So unfortunately, no Inner Sandman, but they do have the entrance and they do have a generic version that sounds similar to Inner Sandman. At least they did do that. Akaili, appreciate you. First time I've seen you in here. I think hopefully you'll subscribe. Going to have a ton of content in the near future, streaming a ton of content for the game as well. No word yet on the instant classic system. I'm expecting them to bring back college classics in some form, though, for sure. Definitely. KO Ball, and what's up, Steven? See you in here, bro. Good to see you as always. So that's a dope feature. I've always had trouble with who the CPU switched me to. Yeah, me too, man. You have to cycle through that damn B button so many times. So that's cool that they got, the right stick to be able to switch now. So that's the gameplay features. If you're diving in here late, you can rewind or, go back on the playback and catch up on those. Maybe we'll be able to highlight some more of them here before I wrap up. But now let's go to Road to Glory from Uprocks again. Robbie Cowan, like I said, put out great details about all of these things. Here are the Road to Glory details, all of which to me were overall a net positive. I know there's some things that some people were upset about, and take a swig of my water real quick before we dive in here, guys. But appreciate you guys and your interaction, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, throw your thoughts in the chat. I'll catch up on those after we talk Road to Glory, and then we'll dive in on Dynasty. All right. Yet again from Robbie Calland. Everything we know about Road to Glory mode in EA Sports College Football 25. Of course, I'm just going to skip kind of the first opening of this, obviously. Of course, the basics here. One of the things they were quick to note is that Road to Glory is a 10 to 20 hour story mode. And this is kind of an interesting detail. It kind of goes hand in hand with what Mike Strahl reported a couple of days ago, that that's not, similar to Madden has been in recent years, where you got kind of a story mode. You had the Spike Lee joint for a while, all of that stuff, where it was kind of a movie with cutscenes and then your games were in there as well. This is really just more of a RPG type experience where, there's not a dedicated story mode like that with cutscenes. It's more you making the decisions to decide how it plays out. And, they made it 10 to 20 hours, which is interesting detail because they feel like it's going to be super replayable because there's never going to be, one playing of the mode that functions the same because all the different choices that you have to make. And this is a lot of detail that goes into this. And I'm really excited about some of it. As he says here, it's a pretty short amount of time for a career mode, but it's a part of the uniqueness of a college football game where you play 4 years. And also, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know you can transport your guy to Madden. Your Road to Glory player can be transported to Madden into their superstar mode, but you cannot export your Dynasty draft classes. But you can do it for Road to Glory. I'll go ahead and throw that out there. But here we are, Road to Glory. As for the structure, pretty simple. You get to pick from the 3 skill positions up on offense and 2 positions on defense. On offense, you can be a quarterback, a running back, or a wide receiver. On defense, you can be a middle linebacker or a cornerback. You'll pick your archetype, which is dependent on your position and determines your skill tree. Sounds kind of similar to the skill trees of, the coaching years of NCAA football 14. You cannot max out the complete skill tree, including your mental and physical abilities, because it's no longer a matter of accruing points and putting them everywhere, but it's instead about building up the areas you pre-select. So that's interesting. It's not the same as the ones in 14 because you're not collecting points to, climb up the tree until you can max it out. So it almost sounds like they made it to where you can't, max them all out. You have to really select which area you want to focus on, and that may take away from another area as he dives in here. What's right here, this first sentence is the one that has a lot of people ticked off and pissed and shit. Not me. You guys heard in my wishes. This is what I was hoping for. I thought the high school shit was the most boring aspect of the previous Road to Glories. It was really dull. You had to select your length of the season after a while. I would take it down as low as I possibly could. I like this better personally. I want to go straight into college. I want to play my college years, and I want to, have these choices to make throughout, the college time, kind of similar to the old PS2 days when you had, your dorm room and stuff. You don't have your dorm room in this one, more on that in a minute, but you do have similar things to focus on from academics and other areas. And I like that, but you don't start in high school. Instead, you pick your level as a recruit to begin to determine how your grind will be to determine to get playing time. So if you want to make it extra difficult on yourself, you can go all the way down and start as a 2-star, and when you'll be a 65 overall. Or you can be a 3-star, you'll be a 70 overall. 4-star, you'll be a 75 overall, and 5-star, you're right there nearly an 80 overall at 79. If you choose to be a 2-star, you'll have to really spend a lot of time in practice before you get on the field. If you're a 5-star, you'll still have to win a position battle, more on that, to get a starting spot. From there, you will pick the things that are most important to you among the 14 pitch grades each school has, and you will get offers based on your star level and what schools align with what you deem most important. So that's cool. It's not even really, you having to pick, your schools that are recruiting you like in the previous times. You kind of pick what your interests are, what you want your player to be, important to be your recruit, and then they match up the schools based on that. That's cool. Once you're in school, you will not have a dorm room like the old games, but instead most of the mode will be done out of the main screen with different scenarios popping up on your phone throughout. That's cool that you have like a phone and you have different scenarios popping up. You will manage your time each week and have to decide how to balance your schedule between the 5 areas of focus. And this is cool, guys. Your 5 areas of focus that you'll have, and it's really important of how you manage these. Academics, leadership, health, training, and brand. How you choose to manage your time will determine everything from your eligibility to play. Yes, you can go academically ineligible. So maybe, you're trying to focus on your playing stuff. You want to be strictly a guy that's worried about my NIL. I want to worry about my playing time. Well, your academics start to suffer. Your GPA starts to come down. You're going to be academically ineligible in this shit. That's cool. That's how realistic this Road to Glory mode is. And also to whether he gets challenged for a starting job. Going too far in any direction means neglecting another, which has consequences. On the other hand, it's not simply a matter of balancing everything out, because that too will mean leaving things on the table. The primary goal of the mode is to make sure you make decisions that are not black and white. There's a lot of gray area involved. That's cool. As they explained it, the goal was to create ethical gray areas with the various dynamic scenarios that will present themselves. Even things like that may seem like a good choice may have a negative consequence down the line. By doing so, they hope to make the story element really matter rather than cutscenes you were just clicking through to get through the game. How will they do that? And this is where we're going to dive into those 5 key areas: the academics, the leadership, the health, training, and brand. First up, academics. When they announced you'd have to maintain your GPA, many people laughed at the idea you'd be taking tests in the game. That is happily not the case. Instead, you have to allocate some hours to studying, because there will be tests on your schedule, and if you're not prepared, as indicated by a progress bar, you could fail and become academically ineligible. So that's pretty cool. If that happens, you'll have to spend extra time with tutors, which will further set you back elsewhere. I love that shit, man. I love that detail. It's one of my favorite things from the original, Campus Legend mode and Race for the Heisman, was they included stuff like that where you had to, back then, even on there in Superstar, you had to actually take, the quizzes. I know some people obviously may not like that, but I did, because, you had the sports ones and then you had the other ones, and it was really interesting addition. So at least they have some kind of form of that where you do have to, allocate time to studying. I wouldn't be mad if you had to take the test. Personally, I kind of like that, but that's just me. All of the elements come with potential boost to your skill trees and academic figure to boost your mental ability on the field as well. Leadership and position battles. Leadership is where you bank coach trust points, which is how you get on the field. So coach trust is back. Allocating time here means getting in the film room and doing necessary football work that's not on field drills to show your coach and teammates that you are committed. When you get enough coach trust and catch a teammate ahead of you in the depth chart, you'll trigger a position battle. The position battle brings the glorious return of mini games. Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome, guys. Love mini games. I complain a shit ton about Madden 24. It's the first Madden I played in 5 years. But the one thing I did like was it does have some of the mini games that I did love from the old Maddens and shit. That is cool, and I love that NCAA is going to have excuse me, college football 25 is going to have that as well. And you will have to win a best 2 out of 3 against your teammate in the mini game in order to earn that spot. If you win, you'll gain a big boost of coach trust. We saw 1,500 for a starting job, which solidifies you in that spot for a few weeks. If you lose, you only lose minus 100, but your teammate gains a bunch and you'll have to wait for another shot. So that's cool, man. You're going to start off. You're not automatically the starter. You're going to have to work your way up depending on where you go. That's going to also have to factor into your decision of the school you pick, because if you're real far down on the depth chart, you might not get to go to your favorite school. A key element of this is your computer teammates are also always trying to earn coach trust. And if you struggle as a starter, they might catch you and force you into a position battle. I like that as well. So just because you earn the starting role doesn't mean you're going to keep it. You can lose coach trust points. They can gain coach trust points. And then you get into another position battle and have to do those mini games again. That means winning the starting job is only the beginning, because you have to perform to keep it. That's awesome. And then let's get into health. This is where the wear and tear system comes into play. Throughout the season, you'll accrue wear and tear on different body parts by taking hits. And when you get too much in one spot, you start to lose attribute points for certain skills that are tied to that area of your body. You'll need to put some hours into recovery in order to stay healthy throughout the season. So you got to focus on that, schoolwork a little bit, but you have to focus on your health a little bit too. Training. Training is practice on the field, and that's where you gain XP and can boost your ratings and your skill tree. So that's obviously going to be vital. We're going to want to continue to upgrade our attributes throughout this Road to Glory mode. The more time you spend here, the faster you'll see that overall rating rise. However, that could come at the expense of something else, and having a greater overall won't help you if you won't be on the field for academic reasons, injuries, or you don't have the coach's trust. And then brand. And now this is where NIL comes into the game. And, I will go ahead before we get into Dynasty mode, which we'll do here in a bit after we wrap up Road to Glory. And I'll catch up on some of your all's comments. So go ahead, throw those in the chat. But brand, this is where we talk NIL. And we were wondering, how is NIL going to function in this game? How are they going to put that into Dynasty mode? Is it going to be like salary cap and shit? Well, spoiler alert, NIL is not in Dynasty mode. NIL is in Road to Glory mode and does play a factor, though. The final piece is the NIL portion of Road to Glory, where you can sign brand deals to get fans and boost your following. Now, this might seem like the least important thing in the easy section to put off. However, each brand deal will come with in-game boosts that will help you out. And boosting your following could be important for the portal. The example they gave was having a deal with a cryotherapy business that helps you heal faster, requiring fewer points spent on the health section during the week. So that's an awesome way that they're implementing that NIL, is you kind of get to pick, NIL deals, but those NIL deals that you pick may help with, other areas that you're trying to work on, your academics, your training, your health, all of that as well. And then also in-game boosts, maybe an attribute boost or something that'll help you in certain scenarios. That's cool. I like the way that they're using NIL. And then dynamic scenarios, which this is what they were talking about, the main menu, how stuff's going to pop up on your phone, which will kind of push you into, making decisions in this mode. Throughout the game, you'll be presented with various options. You'll have to pick what to do, with consequences that could be positive and negative at the same time. For example, you might be asked to go do something with teammates instead of study, and you might earn some coaching trust in the leadership category. But if it means you're underprepared for a test, your GPA might drop, and you could be in danger of becoming academically ineligible. So, something pops up on your phone, you got to make the choice. Do I want to do this? Is this going to positively affect me, but negatively affect me in an area that, I need to work on? So that's going to go into how you make each one of those decisions. These will pop up throughout your career, and the goal is to force you into some choices that aren't obvious, with how you're balancing the 5 main areas always needing to be at the top of your mind. And then, of course, game day. All the things you do during the week will impact you on the field during game day as well. Your mental and physical attributes will determine some in-game boosts, as will the aforementioned brand deals. Your coaching trust will determine play calling options, and for quarterbacks, whether you can hot route or audible. So, you got to have high enough coach trust to be able to get, the hot route and audible abilities if you're playing quarterback. Your health will also impact play calling. A banged up quarterback won't get options called, etc. And if you have piled up wear and tear and not done what's necessary to get it down during the week, you'll be at risk of an injury and have diminished stats. And then redshirting in the transfer portal. Like in real life, you can redshirt a year if you play 4 or fewer games. So you can, I guess after you get to that 4-game mark, I'm sure maybe there'll be a thing that pops up on your phone, kind of like those decisions you're talking about. Do you want to continue to play? Are you happy with your role? Or would you like to, sit out and redshirt and maybe enter the portal? I'm sure they'll have some kind of thing for that. The game will automatically do that for you, meaning if you simply can't win that position battle to get on the field or get hurt 1 year, you'll get that 5th year. You cannot determine to redshirt and refuse to play. Okay, so scratch everything I just said. Not true. But you can take practices and games to try and drop out of position battle. So if you really wanted. So, if you really want a red shirt, you just pretty much don't allow yourself to win that position battle within the first, 4 games or whatever. And, it'll give you that extra year. That's how that functions. Transfer portal. Here we go. New addition, something that wasn't in the previous game that is in this game, both in Road to Glory and in Dynasty. But let's talk about how it functions in Road to Glory here. The transfer portal will be available to you every offseason. As we now know, you can transfer as many times you like right now in college sports. Like in real life, and you will work like recruiting did at the beginning when you picked your first team. You'll get offer from teams that fit your preferences. I really enjoyed that one example they showed where there's a guy that really cares about academics, so his top school was Vandy. If you do this in a video game, God bless you. The coaching carousel will also be happening in the offseason, so your coach might leave, which impacts your coach trust with the new guy coming in, and you might want to follow your old coach. So that's also an option and shit. Chasing records and awards. There will be a robust record keeping system so you can go after national, conference, and school records in various categories. The same will go for awards at the conference and national level, along with all conference and all America teams, and exporting to Madden. As I said, you will be able to export to Madden to superstar mode. That means you have the opportunity to go from recruit to NFL legend across the 2 games and could spend 20 years with your Road to Glory player instead of just 4, because you do get 4 only in, here in the college game, and instead of take about 10 to 20 hours, but you can export them to Madden. So that's what we have, Road to Glory. So we've dove in now on gameplay. We've dove in on Road to Glory. And here in a few, we're going to dive in on Dynasty. But let me catch up on some of your comments in the meantime. Appreciate everyone that's in here live. If you've hopped in late, hopefully you can go back and catch on the playback some of the parts that you missed. I did accidentally mute myself for about the first 2 minutes of the video like a fucking dumbass. Something that I do here frequently. So if you enjoy comedy, that's another thing you can catch here on JC's Pop Culture. But more importantly, if you're a fan of EA Sports College Football, be sure subscribe here, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Twitch. On Twitch, I'm going to be streaming all kinds of gameplay content. Here on YouTube, I'm going to be covering all kinds of news in the lead up. And of course, we'll have clips of that gameplay as well. But I also cover movies and TV shows, especially superhero, comedy, horror. All that's right up my alley. So if it's up yours as well, be sure to subscribe here. But if you're watching live or on a playback, hit that like button, helps shit ton with the YouTube algorithm. Also, just throw your thoughts in there. This won't be the first stream I do today. Later on, we'll be able to, hop in and throw your thoughts in another Q&A session later on, as I probably play some Madden and talk with you guys more about this game. So if you're watching this one on a playback, you'll have a chance to chat live later in the day as well. But if you are in here live, I appreciate you being in here. Try and catch up on some of your all's comments real quick, and then we'll dive in on all the Dynasty details. Are weather games online? Tim DeFrank asked. Madden online is always clear. Good question. Good question. I don't know for sure. I'm sure online Dynasty definitely will be, because, previous NCAA Football 14, I remember it being. So I know that it will be there. But if, they're making such a point in putting it in here into these details, into how it functions and stuff, I would think that it would be available online as well. But who knows? Maybe not. Maybe they'll keep it out of ranked play. But in online Dynasty, I guarantee it'll be there 100%. Orlando says he's hyped for Dynasty mode. Putting 20 teams into a conference is going to be fun. Might recreate the Pac-12, but combine it with the Mountain West. Hey, exactly. Some good details came out about Dynasty. I'm going to dive in on those in just a second. Alice Star, yes, how's it going? You may get a reply. Hey, how are you? 46 days till Hawaii makes the playoffs. Akahili says, hey, I heard that. Get them into those playoffs. Get them into those playoffs. It's about that time. That's so crazy. 46 days away from getting our hands on this game, guys. And there's going to be a shit ton of news that comes out in the lead up there. But that's awesome. Mo Bamba, an iconic stadium song. So that's also dope. Indeed, Stephen. I'm glad they did get the licensing for some songs that a lot of teams play. And I think that's what they kind of tried to do, is because they had all the assets from these universities. So they probably went across and said, okay, which ones are the most common that everybody plays? And they tried to get some of those. So, Mo Bamba, I think they may have got Seven Nation Army. I saw, I'll try and pull up that list of the songs that they did license. I think there was about 5 or 6 of them. I'll try and pull that up before we get out. Savannah Mallard says, no high school and Road to Glory sucks. I know you're not alone in feeling that way. I'm probably in the minority. I personally love it. I hated the high school aspect. I thought it was boring as shit personally, but I know I've seen a lot of people, that's their main complaint with the news that came out. But I'm really excited about Road to Glory. And it wasn't something I played a ton in 14, but I'll probably play it more now, judging by how it functions in this one, just by the details. We'll see. But I hate that, that's disappointing for you, Savannah. But hopefully, when you play it, you still get enjoyment out of the mode. That's what I hope. But I know some people are disappointed with that, and I hate that. But who knows? There may be something to add down the line. Maybe if they see enough people uproar about it, they'll add, a playoff feature, or at least a state championship high school game or something. But maybe people will be pleasantly surprised when they play it still. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Brandon Bates, any word if we'll be able to play with past national champions? Have not heard yet, but I would not be surprised if they had some type of mode where we could use that, whether it's like a college classics games and you get to go back and use some guys that we didn't play with. But the one thing I think would be interesting would be like, maybe a Heisman Challenge mode where you get to go back and play with some of these past Heisman winners that we missed over the past decade. But, also the fact that they haven't announced that yet maybe means that it won't be in this initial version. But we also got to keep in mind that they wanted to make sure that they got graphics, gameplay, everything is perfect as they can. And from all the details, the positive news that we're hearing today, sounds like everything is really, really top of the line. Everyone seems super excited that played the game. So I think that that's, first and foremost, a great thing that they've done. And let's not rule out, down the line, them adding stuff, more game modes, more features, whether it's in college football 26 or whether it's via patches. I think that, they will be able to add some more cool stuff down the line. Yeah, Chris Lee, that's an interesting feature, the wear and tear system. He says he likes how you got to watch them so they don't get tired now. Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. So we pick our school, and are they going to give us the same boring creative player faces? I'm guessing there will be probably obviously a decent amount of detail, hopefully be able to put into it. Who knows if what the choices will be. Hopefully it's bigger selection than previous years. I'm sure they'll have more capability to do that now. But yeah, we do get to pick our own school. The way that it breaks down there, you kind of pick, I guess it was like 14 different things that you're interested in, or from 14 different archetypes, whatever. And then based on your interests is kind of then how you get school choices, and you get to pick. So yeah, you do get to pick your school. WVU is my favorite team, Chris, for sure. I think you see the logo back there in the bottom part of that one thing, but definitely that's who I'll be running with for sure. Yeah, no high school Ralph Woods. I know a lot of people are upset about it. Personally, I think it's great news. I did not like the high school aspect myself, but maybe down the line it's something that they'll add. But I'm excited for this Road to Glory myself. Hey, Roy Boyle 78, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you in here again. Ty McGee, what's going on, man? What's going on, bro? Whoa, Nelly College Football says, I wish it had great historical teams. I know. A lot of people were clamoring for those classic teams, classic rosters. But, like I said, I think that down the line, they're going to continue to just add more and more details to these games. They're all in on making this year to year, from what I understand. So, I think they're getting the base right now. They're making sure, these game modes that everyone's going to play, Dynasty and Road to Glory and stuff, are hugely detailed, and that everyone's satisfied with the game first and foremost. And then I think down the lines when you'll see them really, get the kind of cherries on top, if you will, which is probably going to be those classic rosters, maybe FCS, all kinds of different shit could come down the line. But I think the best stuff that we've heard today is everyone talking about how different this game is, how unique this game is. The words you've heard is incredible, impressive, all those, and not just from one source, from multiple different sources, double digit different sources, guys. And so that's super excited. And guess what they're raving about? They're raving about the graphics. They're raving about the gameplay. They're raving about Road to Glory. They're raving about Dynasty mode. We haven't heard a peep about Ultimate Team. And so, people that were worried, they're just going to focus on that shit. Not the case, man. Not the case at all. Chris Lee said his favorite team's UCLA. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Making that move to the Big Ten this year. Patty sees, I think wear and tear will have to be tinkered with because you don't want to be out of hand. Yeah, I agree. I think, judging by that example they gave in that article, definitely going to have to be tuned a little bit. Definitely have to be tuned a little bit. Even the best running backs can only carry the ball about 60% of the team's carries, Nelly says. Exactly. That's why I do like this, these new features. Like we said, they might have to fine-tune them a little bit, but a lot of this seems like it's going to be more realistic. You're going to have to manage your substitutions. You're going to have to manage your touches. All of that is going to be more realistic, and I'm super excited about that and shit. Orlando asks, when can we hear about ratings? I'm guessing that's coming in the near future. Seems like gameplay and game mode's a big feature this week. Like I said, I think EA is going to come out with something tomorrow. Hopefully they'll talk a little bit about ratings in the near future, but I can't wait for that. Our first ever college football player ratings reveal. It's going to be awesome. Ashima asked, when could we get a look at the gameplay? I would not be surprised if that comes tomorrow or Friday, but I think that probably tomorrow EA is going to drop something, and we'll probably get some videos of some of the stuff that people have talked about. So I will be on the lookout for that very soon, Ashima. Hey, hopefully another song to add in is Sweet Caroline, Steven says. Hey, WVU fans know the real words to that one for sure. I was hoping for Country Roads, but I'll take either one. Orlando doesn't sound like it. I know that Mike Straw said can't switch to the BCS, but they haven't said yet if you can customize the playoffs. That I've seen. About to dive in on the Dynasty Details here. Maybe it'll say something about it, but I don't, not that I know of. Team Rah Rah said, looking forward to this game. Big time Notre Dame fan. Hey, that's what's up. Shout out to y'all being, the first screenshot when the PlayStation Store leaked it. That's pretty cool. Hey, me too, Team Rah Rah. This shit can't get here soon enough. I'm gonna have to get some mods in here for some of this, for sure. That's gonna be something in the future. If you want to be a mod, leave it in the chat. Maybe I'll look into that and try how to set that up both on Twitter and on YouTube and shit for sure. Z200 said, I'm still buying the game. Hey, I already bought it ahead of time. This only, solidified, I think, it being incredible. And I think it was, Eric Rayweather, that tweeted out that he thinks this could be the best football game EA Sports has ever made. And I think, judging by some of the reviews, some of the stuff that's come out, I'm in that camp. I need to see it and feel it and experience it for myself, obviously, before I make that type of judgment. But, hearing it from someone that's played the game say that's high praise. So definitely, I'm right there with you, Z200. Not only did I buy the game, I bought the deluxe, the MVP edition, and I bought the, steelbook to collect because I'm so excited about, my favorite game coming back and basically getting to return to gaming for me because college football is basically one of the only games I really like to play. So, yeah, it's big time shit. Big time shit. Already saw that, Ashima. Sorry, I think I answered it now. Yes, we can't export our classes to Madden. So hope every player in Dynasty stays for 4 years. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice if, convince them to stay more often. But I do like that you can at least export the Road to Glory player. That's cool. That's cool. Or give me the ability to override going to the NFL since they aren't really going. Yeah, hopefully they'll have that ability to at least try and talk them down like on the previous game, Shaquille. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Sorry if I asked you this had to mute for a work call, but do weather happen for online games? Yeah, I don't know for sure, Tim, but as much as they're featuring it, I think that it's definitely going to be a factor. Definitely in online Dynasty. I know it'll be there. Online ranked games, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I don't want to say that it will be and then it not be, but I would be surprised if it wasn't, but who knows? Who knows? Will LSU's next song be in the game? I don't think so. I don't think that was one that I saw included in the list. But what I did see was, for the songs that they weren't able to get the rights to, like Inner Sandman was the example given, is they created generic versions that sound similar to those songs. Do you think we'll get to have a play face scan app to put our face in the game one day? I do think that'll come. I think that'll be something that comes down the line, more technology and stuff today. I would not be surprised. Like your background, Team Rah Rah says. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that a lot. Eric Riley says, Kenny, he heard it's just the instrumental that's in. Hey, at least they got it in there, though. I know they collected a ton of assets, so could be in there. Custom conference is something we need to hear about. Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all, man. Great interaction here. Continue, throw any thoughts you got in there, but we got to dive in on Dynasty. We've talked gameplay. We've talked Road to Glory. We're almost now in. Haven't even talked Dynasty yet. We got to touch Dynasty now, guys. I'm going to dive through this article. Robbie Cowan's Dynasty details here. Let me see here. There we are. But encourage you guys, continue to share your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. I'll catch up on those again before we wrap up. And like I said, this won't be my only live stream today. Later today, I'm probably going to play some Madden and I'll take some more Q&A while I do that as well. So be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Twitch. Moving forward, going to be talking a ton about this game and, of course, streaming a ton of content once it releases. Robbie Cowan, though, everything we know about Dynasty Mode in EA Sports. All right. I'm happy to report, Robbie Cowan states, that Dynasty Mode remains the EA Sports college football mode that the game is built around. As principal game designer Ben Homeler, who was part of the team that built NCAA football from 05 to 14, stated in his presentation, Dynasty is what we're about. Another developer told me he felt Dynasty was where the majority of their focus had been as they put the game together, and they made sure the mode was built out as best as possible. Amazing news. Me personally, that's the mode I play the most, both offline and online. So this shit right here is what makes me the most excited. For those that were worried Ultimate Team Builder would take the center stage, it and Team Builder not even get noted in the 2-hour presentation, proving Dynasty is indeed what they're about. We got a chance to see visuals of the recruiting and the transfer portal process, along with details about what is and isn't a part of the game. So here's the basics, guys. Go 30 years. You can have 30-year Dynasty, and in online Dynasty, you can have up to 32 user-controlled teams. Of course, you can do that in offline as well. The online Dynasty mode will not be available for crossplay. Obviously, you're going to play on the same console. There is crossplay for ranked online and for the Road to the College Football Playoff mode. They also brought back the ability to start your career as an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator as well as a head coach. Awesome. That's something we were hoping for, right, guys, was getting that ability. That's cool. I like to have a dynasty where I start off as an offensive coordinator and try and work my way up to head coach. The word they really harped on while making with Dynasty was making it the sandbox, where gamers have the chance to make of it what they want. They seem to be delivering on that promise at just about every level. Custom conferences. Custom conferences are back. I know you guys were wanting some details about this, but with more depth than ever before. Not only can you move teams around, but you can change conference rules and create custom protected opponents. That means if you want the SEC to go to 9 conference games each season, with the conference championship game being played at the top-ranked team's home stadium rather than neutral site, you can make that change. And then, of course, custom schedules. Custom schedules are back, but your conference games are locked in your schedule and cannot move around. But there's good reason for that because they actually have everyone's conference schedule up into the future. So if you play Dynasty up until the 2030s, it's going to be your actual conference matchups, how they're supposed to be. Of course, that may change if conference realignment happens anytime soon, but for now, they have that set, which is pretty cool. They also went deeper to ensure annual matchups fall on the correct date, so rivalry is going to be on the week they're played every year in real life. The schedules will also feature every non-conference game already agreed to, which means games we laugh about being scheduled in 2032 will be in the game when you get to that point of your dynasty. Week 0 is now a new feature, new to the Dynasty mode as well. Do not have licensing for the stadium in Dublin, Ireland, so games scheduled there will be at a different neutral site location in the game. Kickoff games are part of the game and are licensed, but will be scheduled by the CPU, so you cannot put UMass in the Duke's Mayo kickoff, sadly. Team Builder. You'll be able to import teams you create from Team Builder website into Dynasty mode and play as the school you created. You can design uniforms, helmets, and fields to import into the game, and you'll be able to download created schools made by others if you want a custom option but aren't big into graphic design. Full details on Team Builder will be arriving later this summer. Coaching. All right, skill trees, guys. Here we are. We do got this back. We know we got the ability to start, but they're a little bit different than they were in 14. Skill trees and archetypes. When building out your coach, you will select one of 3 archetypes. You can be a motivator, you can be a recruiter, or you can be a tactician. That's interesting, and I'm kind of wondering how I'm going to figure that up because I like recruiting, but I also like the tactician side. I think that's really cool as well. The scheming of things up and all that. So I'm going to have to debate between those two personally, I think. We'll just have to see, because also when they break down which comes with each, strength and weakness and all that, that may help me make the decision also. 11 skill trees each coach will gain attributes in. You'll not be able to max out all of your skill trees in this version of the game. It's a departure from 14 where you'd max out your recruiting and then go on to max out your game management skills. So pretty much probably, I'm guessing, similar to Road to Glory. You kind of have to select where you want to focus. Instead, you have to figure out what's most important to you and build your coaching accordingly, getting boosts in some areas but having weaknesses in others. The goal of the game at every level is to make sure the decisions you make matter and have lasting impact. Coaching carousel is back. Awesome. Staff hiring and firing, and you'll get offers based on your reputation and performance, both as a coordinator and head coach. A new wrinkle that many fans have wanted, and this is exciting shit right here, guys, is the ability to hire and fire members of your staff. In the past, you had the coaching carousel going, and sometimes your coordinators would leave, but you wouldn't get to select the replacements. That was automatically filled in. Now you got that. That's awesome. Your coordinators will also have skill trees, which means you can choose to have coordinators that fill in gaps in your skill tree as a head coach, giving you balance but not the big boost or you can hire like-minded coaches that will unlock the highest level boosts in those areas. You'll be able to fire members of your staff and go into the coaching carousel and either try to poach coaches from other schools, that's awesome, or hire from a pool of free agent coaches. However, each coach will have a talent tree of players, which you'll be able to look at. They're attached to them from either the recruiting process or playing for them. As such, if you fire a guy, just like in real life, you might lose some of those guys to the transfer portal. That's cool, though, because that also makes me wonder if I see some guys that are tied to a certain coach and I want to go, maybe I'll see a recruit. If I hired this coordinator, I can maybe get that guy to transfer here too. So it can affect you negatively or positively. Recruiting and the transfer portal. The basics. Each year will feature 4,000 prospects, 32 5-star recruits only. So that makes it really high competition, especially in your online dynasty for those 5-star guys. Only 32 5-star recruits, right? And if you have 32 team online dynasties, That's, the equivalent of one per each team. But if you have 32, obviously somebody might get multiple. So somebody's not getting any 5-star recruits and shit. That's interesting. And that's strategically thought out. That number of 32 isn't by accident. Pitch grades also return with 14 in total, including proximity to home, player playing time, sending players to the NFL, and brand exposure, which brand exposure is kind of how they replace the NIL on Dynasty. And many recruits will have deal breakers where they won't consider your school if you don't meet their required grade in certain areas. Athletes are back and can play 2 or 3 positions and will let you know what your team needs and positional needs are in the recruiting screen, as well as which players are at risk of transfer. The transfer portal is also part of the same screen, but won't open until the off season. More on that in a bit. So seems like they actually have the transfer windows in here, guys. That's cool. It's going to make it realistic. The recruiting process is, as they worded it, a combination of some of their greatest hits, as they felt they rolled it back too far with the points-based system. So those of you that thought the points-based system was too simple and shit, seems like they've done a good job to, mix that system with the previous system. Helmler told me they simply thought that they'd fix that next year and then had to wait 11 years for the chance. So they did think they pushed it back, as some people complained it made it too simple when they were planning on NCAA Football 15, fixing it, never had the opportunity. Now they finally do. So here's a little bit of the detail here. There's a good bit more recruiting detail than compared to 14, as you'll have to assign hours to recruits. In the offseason, your recruiting hours and transfer portal hours will be one and the same. Once again, forcing to make your decisions on how you focus. I like that. So you don't have transfer portal hours and high school recruiting hours. You just have recruiting hours, and they go to both. And you have to decide which one you want to go focus on more, transfer portal or high school. I like that shit. I love how this game is making you make decisions that are going to make effect, in Dynasty and in Road to Glory too. This is awesome, guys. You'll need to be cognizant of leaving roster spots open for portal guys, because you only have a certain amount of scholarships and stuff. The early signing period also makes its debut in the game, with the portal opening after early signing day. That's cool, because you remember the last time this game was around, we didn't have that early signing period in December, which is where pretty much all the high school recruits sign now. Now they do, so you'll have that, and then you'll have the portal opening. The recruiting process happens in stages, as will scouting. Gone is the ability to get a full scout on a guy in 1 week, as you won't be able to get a guy's skill tree until you bring him in on an official visit. So you got to get a guy in on a visit before you learn about all of his skills and you have him fully scouted. I like that addition too. You have to stay above a cut line through the process, going from recruit locking in his top 10 to top 8 to top 5 and then a top 3. You'll divide your allotment of recruiting hours across your recruiting board. The hours we saw on the screen were 55, but I don't have it confirmed if your recruiting hours to spend are dependent on your staff skills tree or not. So that could vary. Players will again have things that are important to them, with the 14 pitch grades, and those will impact how interested they are in your school. There will no longer be a way to manipulate recruiting logic to pull in guys that were interested in you by throwing points to them. If they have value proximity to home and live in California, you're not going to be able to get them to come to the East Coast, basically. Within that, it will be much harder to rapidly build a smaller program into a national contender. No longer will you spend 1 year with a small school and then bring in 4 and 5 stars like 14. These top recruits will not consider your school and have you locked out with deal breakers early on. Instead, you're going to have to build up the program over years, building up those pitch grades. You'll be able to hop in, land top tier talent, both in the portal and recruiting years down the line. And let's talk a little bit about visits now. Once a player locks in his top 5, you'll be able to bring him in on a visit, and you will once again be able to design a recruit's visit to show him the things that matter to him, or hide the things not highly regarded in. What game you bring in, what game you bring someone to will also matter, with the game's outcome, win or loss, impacting how well the visit goes. For example, if you bring a recruit to a game against number 2 Ohio State, we're going to be a lot closer to signing him than if you bring him to UL Monroe and win. On the flip side, a loss to a highly ranked team won't hurt you as much, but losing to a lesser school will take your chances. Complementary and competitive visits are back, meaning bringing 3 quarterbacks will not go very well. We know how that works. Let's talk a little bit about the portal here. New addition to this game. Wanted to hear about this shit. The portal opens after the early signing period and will be a part of the offseason process. So it's a shortened process compared to high school recruiting. So I do kind of like that. You don't have to recruit both throughout the season, but you do have to keep in mind that this is coming up and you will have, certain scholarships to allocate, certain hours, all of that. The portal section is a tab, so you can toggle from the recruiting page using L1R1. Service academies can use the portal, unlike in real life, as can Clemson, which Davo won't like. You will also have to manage your off-season recruiting hours for both the portal and the remainder of your high school recruiting. Like in real life, Players you were close to landing in high school recruiting will remember that when they enter the portal, and you were likely end up as one of the preferred destinations. So that's cool that they have that tied into the AI. Even if you came close to landing a guy, but he went somewhere else, keep that guy in mind, because if he hits the portal in a couple of years, you're going to be up on his list and shit. So that's cool. So just because you lose out on a guy initially, you might get him down the road in your dynasty. You can also encourage your own players into the portal to clear up your roster. And that's big, because we know, obviously, we have bigger rosters this year. At least they're moving it from 70 to 85, because that 70 shit used to piss me off. You'd have to cut some good players sometimes. But now, not only can you do that and have the 85-man roster, but you can ask some guys to leave. I need some scholarship space for some of these transfers. You're a low high school recruit. You're not going to play here. That's cool. They're also bringing back the step of trying to persuade players not to go to the NFL or go to the transfer portal. So that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, Shaquille. You will have the ability to convince them at least. And then players will enter the portal based on a number of factors, most notably how you're doing and holding up your end of the bargain with their deal breakers. For example, if you land a recruit based off playing time, he doesn't play at a freshman, he's at risk to enter the portal. Throughout the year, we'll let you know who's at risk for the portal, and it'll be up to you whether you make adjustments to keep those guys or continue the same play and be like, I can afford to lose that guy. And then NIL. NIL is not in dynasty mode, and there's pretty good reason for that. When developing the game, NIL was done by the collectives and wasn't something coaches and schools controlled. Beyond that, given how quickly things have changed with NIL, they didn't want to put something in the game that was outdated as quickly as it was built. So in the future, NIL will likely make its way in once it's something that's solid for schools to do, which we now know that court case came, revenue sharing is coming. So by NCAA football, shit, it's going to take a while for me to get used to not fucking saying that. By college football 26, it may be in there because they may have a way to put it in and kind of have it solidified. And then player editing. This is something we were all wondering about, because with the inclusion of new players, we were wondering if that meant, sorry, my dog's barking. My wife may be pulling up outside to make sure she's not calling me or anything. But we were wondering, would you be able to edit real players? And it appears like you won't be able to edit their ratings at all. But you won't be able to create players, that opted out of the game. We already knew that. But any created players you will be able to edit. Very limited what you can do in terms of edited players because of, NIL and stuff. There are actually guys on the roster. You might be able to make adjustments beyond team builder mode. Small price to pay to have them back in the game, back with the actual players in it. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be back like 60 seconds. Let me make sure to see what my dog's barking at. Make sure nothing crazy is going on here. Since my wife's not home, I'm the only one here. I need to make sure nobody's at the door or anything. But then I'll be right back. We'll continue finishing up this Dynasty mode wrap up. And then I want to catch up on some of y'all's questions. So drop those in the chat. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Safe Flight guy here, replacing my wife's windshield. Figured that's what it might be. But nonetheless, let's talk a little bit about Dynasty continuing on here. We're talking rivalry games, trophies, awards, and records. Rivalry games are in the game with the appropriate name at every level. For example, Georgia State, Georgia Southern is in the game as modern day hate. If your rivalry game has a trophy, that trophy's in the game, and they probably did a motion capture session of players celebrating with a wooden model of that trophy. So not only will you have the rivalry games, you'll have the trophy celebrations. You'll be able to fill your trophy case and take a look and take down rivalry schools. Records are also back at the school conference and national level, as are awards. So it sounds like we'll have, be able to keep up with all our statistics, our history, all of that good stuff. Takeaways. My biggest takeaway from the presentation talking with developers EA was that Dynasty will be what fans have wanted it to be. Now, that doesn't mean it will have everything folks have ever wanted, and it won't have some flaws to tweak going forward. But after spending 11 years ideating on what a modern Dynasty could be, I do believe they created something cool, something that will be really enjoyable. What they've done with recruiting looks very cool, and I guess there will be more to learn as we get closer to launch about how everything works. And we just got a high-level look at the process. One of the things I'm most interested in is seeing how long it takes to build a program in this game. It used to be you could turn just about any program around it to be a contender in 2 years. From everything we saw and everything I've heard from people in the building, that won't be the case in this game. Don't know if that means it's going to be a 4-year job, a 7-year job, or whatever. Probably depends on your skills as a gamer as well. But excited to get in there and find out. It's truly going to be a process of building a program, not only having early issues in recruiting in the portal, but on the field where gameplay changes that make it difficult to thrive with lesser players. So there we are, guys. We've deep dived gameplay, Road to Glory, and Dynasty. Now I'm going to catch up on some of your all's comments. And like I said, I'll be back again later. I'm going to do another stream, and I'll give you guys another opportunity for more Q&A if you didn't get a chance to throw me in this one. But let me catch up here. Where was I? Where did we leave off? Here we go. Patty C says you're going to be busy watching all the YouTuber personal experience playing the game. They're already uploading their own experience. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the meantime, after I get off here, I'm going to have to try and catch up on some more info, see if I can get some more in, and then come back with a stream later with you guys where I'll be probably playing some Madden and chatting with you guys and, talking some more because I'm sure there's people have plenty of questions, as do I myself. So we'll have plenty of opportunities to chat and plenty of info to take in for sure, Patty. Online quarters 5 minutes with stimulated time off the clock. Do they skip the huddle? I hope they don't, do like that. I hope that at least shows them going to the huddle and stuff, unlike Madden. Not sure on quarter length yet. I'm guessing probably 5. I'd say they'd go back to that. Hope they make a B-ball game down the road. Team Rah says, hey, you never know. If this sells good, it could potentially happen. This game sells good, kind of the main key cog in that moving forward. Kind of a small feature, but hopefully they add cannons, muskets firing after touchdowns. I 100% expect it to be in there, Steven. I love it too, man. You know that. But they also, one of the details that came out and, these lengthy videos, I've got some of the articles we went through, but they've also put out videos on YouTube, some of these people that have played it. And I think it was the one from On3. I think it was Andy Staples talking about it. The pregame stuff. The bands, each school's band, however they're formed when the team runs out, they're going to be that way, in your tradition. So I definitely think that the musket or fire will be in there. They got the waterfalls going off at Arkansas State when they scored the touchdown. The detail that is put into, each school is absolutely incredible, I've heard. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was in there at all. Do you think I could buy a steelbook after the game comes out? I have to get that disc first. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure Walmart will still have it, Chris. I'd say so. Big W. Absolutely, Big W. Dynasty sounds incredible. Big W as well. Shaq says for Dynasty. Can we edit the equipment for the real players in the game, not the ratings? Orlando, I do believe that we can. I think that we can edit everything except the ratings, from what I understand. That's my understanding of that anyway. Beyond team builder mode for editing players, I mean, if I create a team builder team, can I swap a player from real college on my team builder school before starting my dynasty? Interesting thought there. I wonder if you could. That's an interesting thought. You never know, Shaquille. I guess we'll find out more about that soon when they give us that team builder deep dive. Shaquille says, sounds like rebuilds with 1-star, 2-star schools will take a substantial amount of time if you actually play in games with the hardest difficulty and not going undefeated with a 75 overall team. Yeah, indeed. I think that this game is going to be a bit harder, especially at first. There's going to be a big adjustment period. I like that. I love that challenge. Braden Ross, is there gameplay tomorrow? I cannot say for certain, but I would be more surprised if there wasn't than if there was. I think we'll get something from EA tomorrow. I really do. CBS article mentioned you start as a position coach as well. Oh, I got that CBS article pulled up. I think I'm going to try and dive through it here after the stream. Like I said, I'm going to try and garner more info, so I'll have more for you guys on a later stream. Got to wrap this one up here momentarily, but wanted to dive in on that. But appreciate all your all's interactions. And like I said, I'm going to be back to chat with you guys again later, and I'll probably be playing some Madden as I do. If WZAM performs a state formation on the game, I'll be truly impressed. I think it's going to happen. Stephen, and I'm going to be impressed also. What teams are you going to rebuild when the game comes out? Good question, Ashima. I think that I'll probably try and make my team builder team kind of a rebuild team, I guess you could say. I want them to kind of maybe climb up through the ranks. But I don't know, maybe the new squad, Kennesaw State, that's a good option, I think, because they run like a pistol option offense. It's a little bit different. So that's one that could be potential. Appreciate you hopping in here, JM, not him. Hey, how you doing? But getting ready to wrap this one up, guys. If you're just hopping in, go back, check out everything. I've talked about gameplay. I've talked about Dynasty. I talked about Road to Glory. But that's not even, all the info. They've really hit us with a shit ton of it today. I'm going to come back later. I'm going to stream some Madden, and I'll chat with you guys again. So if you got a question, you didn't watch this live, you're watching a playback, you want to share it, be on the lookout for the stream later. I'll announce it on my social media. Just follow me on Facebook and Twitter/X, just JC's Pop Culture. Subscribe here on YouTube, Future College Football 25 content, and on Twitch as well. I appreciate you guys hopping into this one, and I'll catch you on the next one.